During the American Revolutionary War, the Cherokee Nation chose to ally with the British Crown. This decision was driven by a combination of strategic considerations, historical relationships, and the pressing need to protect their lands from encroaching American settlers. This article explores the motivations behind the Cherokee alliance with Britain and the consequences of this alignment during and after the war. Historical context and relationships. Before the American Revolution, the Cherokee had established long-standing relationships with British traders and colonial governments. These relationships were rooted in trade, diplomacy, and mutual agreements. The British provided the Cherokee with goods, weapons, and other resources, which were essential for their economic and military needs. Additionally, the British had, to some extent, respected Cherokee territorial boundaries through agreements, such as the Proclamation of 1763. This proclamation aimed to limit colonial expansion west of the Appalachian Mountains, which included Cherokee lands. Although not strictly enforced, the proclamation signaled British recognition of Cherokee territorial claims, contrasting with the aggressive land grabs by American settlers. Motivations for the alliance. 1. Land protection and security. The primary motivation for the Cherokee alliance with Britain was the protection of their lands. As American settlers pushed westward, encroaching on Cherokee territories, the threat to their way of life and sovereignty grew. The British promised to help safeguard Cherokee lands from American encroachment, a promise that aligned with the Cherokees' immediate need to preserve their territory. 2. Military and economic support. The British provided the Cherokee with arms, ammunition, and supplies, which were critical for their resistance against American settlers. This material support was a significant incentive for the Cherokee, who needed resources to defend their homes and communities. 3. Strategic alliances and shared interests. The British and Cherokee had a shared interest in curbing American expansion. By aligning with the British, the Cherokee hoped to leverage their support to push back against the encroaching American frontier settlements. The British, in turn, viewed the Cherokee as valuable allies who could conduct raids and disrupt Patriot supply lines, diverting American resources and attention. 4. Promises of sovereignty and autonomy. The British assured the Cherokee that their sovereignty would be respected and that they would retain control over their lands and governance structures. This promise was appealing to the Cherokee leaders, who sought to maintain their autonomy in the face of growing American pressures. Consequences of the alliance. 1. Military engagements and retaliation. The Cherokee engaged in several military campaigns against American settlers, often in coordination with British forces. These actions led to brutal retaliatory attacks by American militias, resulting in the destruction of many Cherokee towns and crops, significant loss of life, and widespread displacement. 2. Treaties and land cessions. Despite their alliance with the British, the Cherokee were compelled to negotiate peace treaties with the Americans as the war progressed. These treaties often resulted in substantial land cessions, undermining the very objective the Cherokee sought to achieve by allying with the British. 3. Long-term impact on sovereignty. The post-war period was particularly challenging for the Cherokee. The Treaty of Paris in 1783, which ended the war, made no provisions for the protection of Cherokee lands. The subsequent years saw continued American expansion and further treaties that eroded Cherokee territory and autonomy, culminating in the forced removal known as the Trail of Tears in the 1830s. Conclusion. The Cherokee alliance with Britain during the American Revolutionary War was driven by a complex interplay of strategic, economic, and political motivations, primarily centered around the protection of their lands and sovereignty. Despite their efforts and the promises made by the British, the consequences of this alliance were severe and long-lasting, leading to significant loss and displacement. The story of the Cherokee during the American Revolution is a poignant reminder of the struggles and sacrifices made by indigenous nations in the face of colonial expansion, and the enduring impact of these historical events on their communities.